Hello, if you're watching this video, it means that you feel like you can benefit from one of my seminars. My name is Jessica, and I speak about my story, which is involving child abuse and domestic violence. Um, I like to speak at schools, churches, anywhere that I can raise awareness, anywhere that I can advocate for children, anywhere that I can educate others who can advocate for children. My mission is to do exactly those three things. I would like to raise awareness, I would like to advocate, and I would like to educate. Um, so, a little bit about me is my background. I grew up at 6 years old. I was abused for the first time, and I started speaking about my abuse about 4 years ago when I was 26. And I've since started videos and I started posting them on Facebook. And then I just did my first public speech this April, which is this month, in front of others. And I've since been asked to speak at other places. So it's just kind of taking off. I now have a website. I am in the process of setting up a victims awareness fund. And things are just really taking off. So I like to share my story because I feel like it's important for people to know from a survivor's point of view how it felt going through childhood and how the adults in their lives knew about it or how they tried to reach out to them. When I was a child, I can honestly say there were not very many adults other than my direct workers who reached out for me. I went to many churches. I was in many different schools. I've been to Awanas. I was in vacation Bible schools. There was not very many people that reached out to me. There was one teacher who did in elementary school right after I got put in placement. Other than that, there wasn't anybody in school. I was bullied. The kids in school didn't understand why I was the way I was. They didn't understand why I came to school in the same clothes 3 or 4 times a week. They didn't understand why I smelled bad. They didn't understand why my hair was a mess. They didn't understand why my book bag was ripped up and I didn't get a new one all school year. They didn't understand why at lunchtime I pigged out because maybe I wasn't getting food at home. They didn't understand why I had bruises. And they just picked on me for it because this is not really something that people like to talk about. And not very many people know how to approach the topic or how to approach the situation to be helpful. And let's face it, kids are cruel nowadays. So this just kind of is a way for me to raise awareness, advocate for children, and educate the public so that they can better help these children, so that we can maybe get this thing that's out of control. This whole child abuse thing is out of control. Another point that I like to make is just because a child comes to school and they don't have something or they look rough or something's happening in their life doesn't necessarily mean that they're purposely being abused or purposely being neglected. There are children out there whose parents just can't do it. Maybe they need a little help. How can you help? If you notice a kid comes to school and their pants are all ripped up, like how can you help them? Hey, Nick, I notice your pants are kind of ripped. I might have some in your size. What size do you wear? You don't really have to have the pants. Just ask them what size and you can help them. Get them a pair and say, hey, I found these pair of pants. There you go. That helps that kid understand that somebody thought about them. Somebody realized that they had a need and they filled that need. And that's important. But the most important part is that you establish trust. So if something is going on in that kid's life, he's going to feel like he can trust you and he can come to you and tell you about it. And this doesn't just go for teachers. This doesn't just go for the faculty in a school. What about churches? What about people who run Sunday schools. Maybe a family comes into your church and you notice that maybe they don't have a lot, and maybe they need a little help. Maybe they need some help putting some food on the table. Does your church hold a regular meal, maybe once a month, a free meal? Does your church hold anything like that? Maybe you see this one family that comes in every single time, and you can just tell that they don't have much. Maybe that one meal a month isn't enough for them. Maybe you can get them in touch with the local food pantry. Maybe you can somehow try to get them in touch with somebody that can help them. You don't have to physically help them yourself. So these are some of the topics that I like to touch on. What are some of the signs in schools that you can see with kids who are being abused or kids who are being neglected? A big thing for me is you don't always see physical signs. You need to know what to look for. How can you help that kid? I'm personally a mandated reporter because of where I work. I know how that whole mandated reporter thing works. As a teacher, you're a mandated reporter. Yes, you take that big 6-hour training, but it doesn't really touch base specifically on what to look for. It doesn't touch base specifically what signs that are happening that you might not be aware of. You'll get that from me because I lived it. I was there. And as a kid, I might not have understood it. I didn't even know what was going on. But now as an adult now that I've been able to, kind of sit back and look at it, and I've reflected on my childhood, and I've been able to start to heal from my childhood, I understand more what I went through. I understand why I went through it, the feelings, the emotions. Why did I not want to take care of myself? Why did I act out? And why did I become angry? I understand it more now. So I promise you book one of my seminars today, and I will promise you that you will not regret it. It is going to be the most important thing that you can do for your organization or your company. It is the most important investment that you can make. So book today.